And here we go with Bitcoin, of course, starting off the day and looking at the top end metrics on the Crown Chain application, which I should let you know you can find in the link in the description below. It is 100% free for this next month for all of the premium activities that we are going to be offering up. And the big focus is once again on sentiment indicators and, of course, global open interest, of which we still see it coming down. But again, until I really see this come down around 11 to 10 billion-ish at minimum, I'm not really looking for like a major massive low on this price action. That can come about many ways. Obviously, either longs taking their positions off because they're getting a little bit too wrecked, or shorts essentially closing their positions because they're getting too much profits, and fair enough on that. But here's the thing. Anytime that we have seen this get above 13 billion with a B, we have seen it reset down usually to at minimum around 10 to 11 billion. And the lower typically the better. So I'll just quickly run you through this. Of course, we got this iteration over here in March. We have this iteration over here, the 65,000 all-time prior high at in April, of course, before going down to 30,000. Might I add. Of course, the more recent one in September of the past year, before going down about $13,000 in just one day and spending some time down around those $40,000 lows priorly, of course. And then more recently, we did see this this same sort of interpretation at the $69,000 all-time high before getting that massive move down to 40,000. And then between the 46 and $52,000 range, we did see it once again get above 13 billion, yet again with a B, and now coming down. So I would be looking for this to base somewhere around, getting kind of close there, but somewhere around 11 to 10 billion. And I do have my alerts on in the Crown Chain application, which you can actually do for yourself as well. And again, this is all free, and I'm actually not even aware that you can do this on any other platform for free. That is, anyways. Just tooting our own horn, man. I do, we're offering. I do believe that we're offering up the most free stuff across the interwebs, at least for underlying market dynamics. Into the hourly we go. We can see that it's been steadily coming down, pretty much the last few weeks actually. But most importantly, with this is starting to really play into the analysis. So until this starts to base out a little bit lower, I still would say that Bitcoin is in kind of a precarious place, and there is a good chance that we do see a little bit lower before Bitcoin does put in any sort of a major macro base. Now, again, that can come in multiple ways, but ultimately, we do want to see a bit of a reset right there, as as right now we do see, of course, that it is coming down alongside price action, which does imply that the current downtrend is actually weakening. But for right now, it still could come down a little bit more. Now, here's the thing, and I want to add up a little bit of a nuanced interpretation of this. And people have brought up some really good points with this, which I've alluded to in the past, but perhaps I wasn't as forthright with expressing this. But basically, we do expect the base amount of open interest to naturally rise over time as this asset class does mature. Obviously, more people involved is naturally going to represent itself in just more positions, open as far as that goes. But still, some people are kind of arguing that, this would be a good level right here. Perhaps it is, perhaps it isn't, but I would say that this is a little bit too, near the last few areas of which the market cap for this asset has been very, 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 very consistent around that region. So I wouldn't say that, we have anything majorly new going on right there, and I wouldn't expect anything humongously different, to be quite honest with you, until this market cap really grows, another 50 to 100% or so. At that point, yeah, naturally the sort of interpretation of these dynamics will evolve over time. That is to be expected, of course. But right now, we're comparing something we know with just like a month ago. Of course, it's not going to be that different, at least in my opinion. On top of that, if we go over here into the sentiment indicators, I want to once again reference the fear and greed index, and also the leverage ratio, which is still pretty much around all-time highs, but we'll just ignore that for right now. Anyways, in this case right here on the fear and greed index, you can almost see a fractal relationship between the sentiment that we saw over the summer at the $30,000 lows, and of course the lows going on right here, or presumably the lows going on right here as well. And that is actually rather interesting, just because on price action, if we go back onto this pane here, you will notice that there's actually, in some ways, or I wouldn't say in some ways, but you could certainly make a fractal relationship between the price action going on right here in this segment. Let me pull up a fresh chart really quickly. Let me see, is this one fresh? Yeah, this one's fresh enough at least. I'm talking about this price action right here with this first wick down, and then kind of spills back on over, retest that wick right here. And then, presumably if this fractal is going to play out, we'd probably bounce from that region, similar to what you see back on over here. And again, you see the exact same thing or almost the exact same thing on sentiment indicators, which I actually do think holds a lot of weight in this particular instance, as kind of confirming that as a potential idea. Now, please do understand that this is Hopium for right now. And even it being Hopium would still suggest that Bitcoin's going to spend a long time at minimum at this $40,000 level, maybe like another month or so, if that relationship is going to hold to fruition. For right now, Bitcoin's just over a month within this sort of similar area that you saw back on over here from the summer. And over the summer, that actually took about almost 3 months to resolve itself. So at minimum, you'd probably be waiting a long time. And there's going to be a lot of traps along the way as well. But basically, I'm talking about this. Obviously, you get your first major wick down right here on this one, and then we'd be kind of operating on this portion of the signature as well. You can see it obviously rejected from the range highs, just like you rejected from the range highs right here. Retesting around that wick lows is kind of the name of the game. But until we actually get a closure below that wick low, like a full-on higher term time frame closure below that wick low, I'd say that it does hold a little bit of weight, to be fair. Here's the thing though, from this point on this major low right here in June, it still took about another full month before you to get your actual bear trap. And in that case, it was very, 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 very swift after that. So please understand that this is Hopium for right now. It's a potential. It is certainly very, 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 very far from being confirmed. And just like a lot of the things that we've been speaking about with regards to Hopium for the last month, at the end of the day, until they're actually fully validated, they are just phantoms. They don't exist. They only exist in your mind's eye, which is not good enough. And more importantly, what is the most important thing as far as any sort of major macro direction goes? That is your trend. And the trend is your friend. And the trend is not the fucking friend of Boolah's and hasn't been ever since $63,500. So just kind of simplifying things in that way, can really reduce the anxiety when looking at something like this. But in, kind of rounding out this case right here, I do want to pull up a few other things. So if we are going to look for this to play out, or if this is going to play out, more importantly, we would be expecting a bounce of basically from these levels, probably today, tomorrow, very likely around the time that US markets open later today at 9:30 a.m. Eastern time. What can happen in between there? Well, of course, you can get a few more stabs around your lows, but assuming that we don't close on new lows, then I would be saying Bitcoin's a little bit more likely to bounce from this region than not. Why do I say that? Because we do have many drives of bullish divergence building up from these current lows. I believe that's all the way up to a 12-hour now as well. Let me just double check. No, actually not. Actually, no, there's not. Maybe on CME, will CME be a little bit nicer? Indeed, it will actually, and we actually do have potential regular bullish divergence come off this low as well of the 2 drives variety, but 2 drives variety probably good enough to get you to test short-term, medium-term range highs in this case. What would that exactly be on as far as price action goes? That would be, if I can pull up this chart right here. Okay, let me go to another fresh chart. We need another damn fresh chart, not this area right here, although that was a very, very short-term time frame highs from the weekend. Yes, we already got that. What I'm talking about, however, and the one that actually means something is this level right here at the 43,700-ish region on no less than, you could probably get it on an hourly closure, although a 4-hour closure would be a little bit more staunch in this case. Above there, several things do start to happen, and I would be looking for moves back around about $45,500 to $46,000. Why am I essentially saying that? Because that is where the weekly 55 exponential average is coming in right now, pretty much exactly at that region. Actually, pretty much exactly at that region, in fact, 43,750, as you can see right here. And as long as Bitcoin is below that region, it is, technically speaking, in a precarious place. And, well, that is a macro reversal posturing right there, to be fair. So I won't, I won't feed you too much Hopium in this case, because at the end of the day, this is in a very, 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 very nasty place potentially if Bitcoin does actually initiate that move. And of course, you do have a bit of a head and shoulders going on right here as far as price action goes. Now, I actually do think that this is a valid head and shoulders, in fact. But how would you confirm this as a head and shoulders? Needs to close below the neckline. In this case, it's the same validation as before. It always comes back to this 4th of December wick low right here, which is about 41,000 and a little bit of change right there, depending upon which exchange that you look at. It could be as low as 41,000 even, or as high as about 41,500 or so. Either which way, that would be the area to kind of validate something like this. And until then, you can actually imply a target based off of the confirmation of that as a formation, which would be pointed all the way down, not necessarily to a St. Anna target right there, but all the way down to low $20,000 territory. Here's the thing though, and what I actually put a little bit more weight on, especially when you're talking about a formation that is completing itself above a long-term major moving average. In this case, it would be the 200, which you actually don't see on this chart because Bybit's a little bit too young for this, too young of a chart, as you can see. But basically, a general way to kind of filter things out is, if you complete a bearish formation above a major moving average, the major long-term moving average. In this case, I like to use the 200s for that, for that purpose. They have a lower degree of hit rate, and of course, vice versa for the other side. So it is relevant to be looking at the potential failure target on this as a continuation, or it's not necessarily a continuation pattern. That would look like something completely different. But my point is that you'd be looking at, hey, where's my damn chart? There's my damn chart. But you could apply that measure move to the top side of the right-hand shoulder if and when Bitcoin does get back above there. And that actually be pointed up towards about $75,000 to $80,000-ish region. That will only be confirmed. Please do understand this. This will be only confirmed, and this is only just the biggest amount of fucking hopium that I could find for today until Bitcoin gets back above $52,000 prior range highs, which Bitcoin has a lot of fucking work to do before then. Again, even for the short-term timeframes, we are still operating well below 43,700. So until that level is taken out, there's really not even any sort of medium or higher term time frame prolonged bounce to be speaking about. But if we go over here into the momentum offsetters, you will very likely notice that several things are kind of aligning with, likely to bounce here more than not. So as always, when it comes to a Monday, I do not trust spot price action indicators as much as I do CME. I've gone through and I've back tested them a million fucking times, and I can assure you that it ain't fucking great results with spot compared to CME. CME definitely takes the cake for that, if you're going to trust them to begin with. But in this case right here, 4-hour stochastic momentum will be remaining to the upside on CME specifically, as long as Bitcoin is closing above $41,000, which, by the way, we're going to get another closure in 44 minutes. So we'll very, very likely, or we will see this on this stream, by the way. And then on top of that, I should denote, however, to add a little bit of a sombering look at the other side, we actually do have a trend line test that's been playing out and guarding against what? No, not right now. Anyways, looking at this right here, I do want to say that, of course, this actually has accurately gotten a lot of our prior highs for the last couple weeks, actually. December 27th right here, more recently on the 31st right here. So that would be this high at about $52,000 range highs from the prior daily range. That would be your highs right here, your highs yet again right here before the ultimate dooms drop. And, well, we're once again going to be testing this region out. To be fair, usually after you test something like this 3 times, you probably are going to break it. And the closer and closer that you kind of wedge into it around the critical zone, it becomes more and more likely to break. So I do think that this one maybe has one more drive at most. But if we do have one more drive at most, that could actually be the next $40,000 break. So please do be aware of that. Please do be aware of the validation conditions. But until then, I do think that Bitcoin's shown a few more indications that it's a little bit more likely to bounce here than not, just as we were saying over the weekend. And we said that this was kind of a setup for the early week to come. Well, we're at the early week to come. So if you are going to be looking for that, it is now relevant to be looking for. If we go over here to the hourly, I should be looking at this, and we do see that, yes, it does remain with upside posture as long as above 41,800. Keep in mind, Bitcoin's just trading about $25 above there right now, so not great. And we also do have backwardation on futures versus spot, by the way. Buy hourly is showing 41,431, so that is good, building upon those lower numbers. 3 hours going to be showing 41,600 and already breaking what would have been that same sort of trend line right here, I'm going to guess. Actually, no, it is not doing that just yet. And then I think the 6 hour was also starting to turn. Yes, indeed it is. 41,250, the magical number. 12 hour is also just freshly turning. However, it is not in the most strong place. And this one's showing 41,160. So as long as Bitcoin can essentially remain above about 41,500, I would look for this one to bounce early into this week. Bounce targets are probably going to be the medium-term time frame range highs, which is be about 43,700. Above 43,700, maybe even on an hourly closure, I would personally use a 4 hour for myself. I would be looking for that next move up about $2,000 to $45,500 to $46,000. That's the big one for the very long term, because that is your weekly major area. Bitcoin back above there. This starts to look a little bit more like, we are going to see some bottoming action in the low 40s. However, I would still suggest that it is not quite there just yet. But even on the daily, now that I look at it, Bitcoin will be remaining with upside posturing on daily stochastic momentum with any sort of a closure above 41,220 at the end of the day today in 15 hours, 41 minutes, and 57 seconds. So it's a long day left to go, obviously. But again, kind of constructing the cases, I do think that Bitcoin is more likely to bounce here than not. And again, just, be aware of the differentials in targets. If we go over here to the 5-day, you also notice that Bitcoin is kind of bouncing off the bottom side of the, of the Challenger bands right there. And then weekly, kind of same thing as well. And typically speaking, you're going to see a bounce within that region. So kind of constructing the cases, that's what I'm looking for right now. Maybe one more quick swipe of the lows here on the short-term timeframes, definitely possible. Just one little last fuck you to the over-leveraged late longers, or early longers, I should say, and then very likely another try to the upside. And then, you know, of course, order of operations. But please do understand, all higher-term timeframes are in a downtrend, and you know, talking about any sort of prolonged upside price action alongside that, and also alongside, of course, our open interest reads over here has not been a winning decision for a very long time. In fact, barely it ever is. Oh, I should also mention that the Jewel Light, we had to repost that because it got taken down because the TradingView Nazi moderators don't like it if you don't have like a perfect description, which, you know, fair enough. That is their rules. But you can find the new one in the link description below of this video, of course. And also, I needed to do another announcement on this because I'm getting so many messages about this. It's actually insane. Instagram, I only have one Instagram account for my personal self. It's in the link in the description below if you happen to give a fuck about my super boring life. It's kind of fun sometimes. But if you're getting messaged by anyone else that has a similar name to myself, it's not me. I'm not interested in trading anyone else's account other than my own. I don't have like a secret fund where I take in investors' money, and I certainly don't want you to download some sort of bullshit malware, most likely. So please be careful with that. I mean, shit, man, I got an email from myself today. I got an email from myself asking to like promote shitcoin projects. So there's someone who's actually pretending to be me on email. He's actually got a very confusing email as well. It says Eric Crown Official, I think, at Gmail, and he's going around and trying to get shitcoins to basically pay him to market for them. And it's not me, but man, I imagine there's gonna be a lot of mad people soon enough. So please be careful with that. And there you go. That is it for